Hey everybody, welcome back. It is time for episode 17 of Beyond the Tap. I am your host, Brian Crum, and welcome back to our studios here in beautiful Northwest Arkansas. Joining me today on the podcast is a couple of guys from just north of here in a little town called Webb City, Missouri. And it's just outside of Joplin. If you're not familiar with where that's at, look it up, because you got Google, and you can do that thing. So without any further ado, I would say let's welcome to the show Eric and William, right? Cooper,
that's right.
William?
Yep.
There you go.
Thank you.
So now, really quick, before we go too far, now, what do you prefer to be called? Because I've seen, a couple of different folks, they refer to you by your last name, and then other folks call you,
Call me Will.
Call you Will?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And you can just call me Eric.
Perfect.
Yeah,
all right.
That's fine.
All right, Eric. So welcome to the show, guys. This is fantastic.
Thanks.
Make sure and get right up in the mic there so we can hear you. But, welcome to the show. We had a great time chatting, I guess, getting up here and everything, and a little bit of conversation before you guys came on here to the episode. And, man, I'm looking forward to this. So tell me a little bit about you guys. You guys, Flag City Brewing out of Webb City, Missouri. So now, how long have you guys been open?
We were open a year in February.
Okay.
So minus a few shutdown months.
Yeah, exactly.
So just a little over a year. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So where'd you guys come up with Flag City Brewing? Where's that name? Is Webb City known as Flag City? Is that?
It is.
Okay. Our viewers don't know, so I'm trying to leave them there.
When we first started talking about doing it, it's kind of funny that we had both went our separate ways, and we're planning on meeting the next week, and had decided to come up with 4 or 5 different names that we were both interested in, and just happened that both of us had put Flag City down and decided to go with that, and mainly just because so much of what the brewery does is centered around Southwest Missouri, their mining history, and so we wanted to incorporate as much of the town as we could into what we were doing. And Webb City for the longest time was known as Flag City.
Okay.
And it all had to do with, after World War II, I guess there was a big boom in like small towns trying to come up with something that they were known for. And so the mayor at the time in Webb City had decided that he wanted all the residents of Webb City to start planting irises. And so the iris bloom is known as a flag, and so it became Webb City, City of Flags, Flag City, and so that's kind of how it came about.
See, I had no idea on that.
Yeah,
that's a really fascinating history, and I did not know that's the term for the pedals on that.
You know what? So. We didn't either until we started doing this, and found out a lot of the history of it. So
there used to be there was a sign welcoming people into town. And then on our water tower, it says City of Flags. Some of the local competitive towns would, on the little sign that was close to the ground, used to mark out the L in flags.
Of course.
Right.
But local people do recognize the City of Flags. And the other thing that we felt like was that we did not want to be Webb City Brewing, because we have patrons in all the towns around Joplin and Carl Junction and Carthage and Neosho, so we wanted to appeal to other people and not build this competitive wall, of we're Webb City, we're City of Flags. It's still relevant locally, but it draws on the history,
So. Absolutely. And by history, you were talking about mining. I know this whole area, so I grew up not too far from you guys in Fort Scott, Kansas. And so I know that there's some mining in this whole region. And so tell us a little bit more about that. I've heard that a couple of your beers are named after some mining stuff. And
in fact, all of our beers have mining-themed names. our 4 core beers are our year-round beers, which we brought 3 of the 4 today. For instance, like the Sucker Flats Wheat, which is what we're having now,
Okay.
is named after, and you guys probably didn't go through Webb City much, but growing up, and I don't know, is what, 10, 15 years ago that they filled it in. But there was a giant, just right by the Praying Hands, which you guys might know is a big monument there. Just right by there was a giant mine called Sucker Flats Mine.
Sucker Flats.
Yeah.
All right.
And so that was always something that was very well known as far as Webb City. So we use that for the name. But and to try to incorporate, other communities. Our Oronogo Circle IPA is named after another big mine in Oronogo, which is just north of Webb City. And then our Old 60 Brown Ale is named after, it's actually the last running trolley that was used back in the tri-state mining days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so it's there in Webb City in their park, and they, have just a little short track, but they run it for special events and stuff. But it's number 60, so we named it after that.
Okay.
And then our British Pale Ale, we named Turkey Creek Bitter after, Turkey Creek, which is one of the main creeks that run through the area. That was used a lot, for mining purposes as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, so tell us more about this beer that we're drinking here. You said Sucker Flats, and it's a wheat beer.
It is. It's an American wheat.
It's delicious.
Thanks.
It's very soft, very easy to drink.
Yeah, it's definitely our lightest beer and most easy to sell to people that aren't used to drinking craft beers.
Yeah.
And it's just, in fact, all of the beers that I make, I try to be as traditional as I can.
Yeah.
And so it's just a basic American wheat beer that we have 2 different versions. We have a standard version that we have throughout the year. And then in the summer, we actually call it Summer Flats Wheat, where I'll add a bunch of lemon, coriander to it, and it just kind of makes it almost more like a shandy, not quite, but it's real popular over the summer.
Was there any, just out of curiosity, was there any beer that you were kind of like trying to imitate whenever you made this, or was it just, hey, let's create our own wheat beer?
No, whenever I made these recipes, I just looked at the style guidelines. I looked at beers that I liked, and then just tried to pick out what characteristics from ingredients that I wanted the beer to have.
Yeah.
And that's how I came up with the recipes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was going to say, 'cause the reason that came to mind for me was it tastes a little like a Blue Moon, but better.
Oh,
Like, honestly, I would drink this. No offense to you, Blue Moon. No offense. You still have a special place right here. But yeah, I would definitely put this up against that any day of the year, because that is fantastic. So,
thanks.
You've made this a long, long time.
Yeah,
Right?
in fact, this was the first recipe that I ever wrote.
yeah. Now, how long have you been brewing?
About 15 years. I started 15 years ago with a buddy of mine who comes in and sometimes helps me brew.
Okay.
But we actually got jobs the same day. Had never met, got jobs the same day teaching elementary school.
Okay.
And then we both found out, how much we liked beer and started, getting into more, more craft beers, stuff that we hadn't had. We'd travel to Springfield and down here to the Macadoodles and stuff to get, things that you just couldn't get, in Webb City or Joplin. And then we just decided one day that we'd start making our own. So we actually went to a class in Tulsa at High Gravity Homebrewing.
Okay.
And they were great. And so we went down there and went through the class, and then, started like everybody else, just brewing, extract beers, and then moved on up to, all grain in the garage once the wives got tired of us,
Yeah.
cooking the extract inside. And then so it just kind of evolved to where we had this opportunity, and this is where we're at now.
Yeah. So now you said you've been brewing for about 15 years. How do you fit in? And where'd you come into this picture here?
Well, so I go back with the wheat. I got really fond of the wheat several years ago. Eric would make, a 4 or 5 gallon batch, and he'd say, "Hey, I'm just tapping the wheat tonight. Come over and play pool." Or maybe we'd have a buddy in town that we were going to get together at Eric's house, and I just thought it was really good, So for me, it's been more of trying to answer the question of when you make something with your buddies,
Yep.
from scratch, and you taste it, your tolerance for it is really, really broad. I mean, you can taste and say, that's pretty good. And it might not really be that good. It might just be that you think it's cool that you made something and it's drinkable.
My Nana says I'm a great brewer,
Yes. But the question is that, what do other people think? People that are actually, paying for it.
Yeah.
What do they think about it? And so really, I mean, for me, I think I just over time, I just kept, I'm really just sort of an entrepreneur, and being around Eric and tasting what he can do, I've just always been impressed with his craft, his craftiness. He's very creative. He's also very much, when it comes to this, don't go in the brew room when he's brewing. I can't clean a keg. I can't clean the pot out, or the boil kettle, or the fermenter. He needs to do that, and he's very, very meticulous when it comes to that. And so, for me, it was just wanting to answer a question of, can this be turned into a business? Is it really good enough that people will buy it and come back? And a chance to kind of see if how far we can push the thing. And it took a little while. It took a few years, I think, of telling him, I think this beer is really good.
Yeah.
And actually kind of getting serious about, because we both have careers, we both make a living doing something else,
right.
And this is it's side business, I suppose, but it's also a passion for me. It's the
definitely.
entrepreneurial side of leveraging his craftiness and his abilities and his just his interest in this into something that maybe is an enterprise that can grow. And one of these days, if I can talk him into retiring from teaching, maybe he'll want to do it full time. So,
yeah,
but we'll see.
Well, and that's a good point. You're a teacher too, right?
Well, yeah, actually, I'm a elementary counselor now.
Okay,
Yeah.
Very cool. So now, and how long have you been doing that?
Oh man, this is my 12th year as a counselor, and then I taught second grade for 7 years before that. So
wow, very cool. So now I've got to ask. I mean, have you seen any of you obviously teaching that long? Just watching some of your students grow up and stuff like that, or other students that you saw, older students in the school, are they coming into your tap room and you're starting to see that? It just makes you feel really young, doesn't it?
Right. It's like, oh my gosh, there's no way that you're 21.
Yeah.
And shoot, they'll be 22, 23. I'm like, holy cow.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
It's like drinking with your buddy's little brother or sister in the room, and it's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I was just yelling at you on the playground for doing something, and now I'm pouring you a beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But it's cool though. I mean, that's part of the fun of it.
Yeah. Well, and so now I was you were talking about batch size and stuff like that a little bit. You kind of touched on it, and I read you guys are the first nano brewery in that area.
Yes.
Tell our viewers and listeners what's a nano brewery, because a lot of us have heard the term like microbrewery or craft brewery. What defines nano brewery?
Basically, we do 1 gallon or 1 barrel batches at a time.
Really?
Yeah.
1 barrel batches.
Yeah.
And just for a quick reminder, I know we've touched on it in other episodes, but how many pints usually comes out of a gallon?
Well, 1 barrel is 32 gallons.
Okay.
Right. And so I do 40-gallon batches. So I can get a 40-gallon batch out of our 50-gallon system, and not, and if we do, like a big beer, like our Mother Lode Imperial IPA,
Yeah.
I can only do a 20-gallon batch just because there's not there's not room for the grains, in the to do it all. So yeah, we do 40-gallon batches. We get 7 kegs per batch, 7 6-barrel kegs per batch.
Okay.
And luckily, with only being open 3 days a week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, it's been fairly easy to keep up with.
Okay.
On doing those small batches. But generally, we have 4 fermenters. So certain weeks, it's kind of an off on. I'll get 3 batches brewed one week. The next week, it may only be 1. It just kind of depends on, what's in need and what opens up.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys are keeping it pretty tight on how much you're constantly having to brew, right?
Yeah, and that was kind of the plan the whole time. I mean, since we started, it was kind of always, let's do it mainly for fun, I think,
Yeah.
And and for the longest time, I refused to believe that he was even serious.
Okay.
And even when we started renovating the building, would go home and tell my wife, "It's like, we're just messing around," And then it ended up happening.
It's the best hobby ever, right?
Exactly.
I remember. I was just going to say the day that he had identified what brew system he wanted and the fermenters that he wanted and all of that stuff. He kind of set up the order, and I said, "I'm getting ready to order this. This is kind of the point to where we don't turn back.
It's
once
trigger time. Yeah.
Once we spend this money, we're in. So this is your last chance to back out."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you pulled the trigger on it, obviously. Now you're into it. How has the response been from the area there? I mean, you said you're open 3 days a week.
Yeah, we're open Thursday and Friday from 4 to 10.
Okay.
And then Saturday from 2 to 10.
Okay.
And we're kind of set right in the middle of. We're on 71, which is a highway, but we're kind of right in the middle of a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right. And so, we were, it was very important that we were, that we tried to be respectful of the neighborhood. You know, we didn't want to be open super late and, be loud, and all that. And really, that's kind of why we ended up picking the hours that we did. And plus I didn't get off school till 3.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we worked it.
Can Eric come out to play after school?
Exactly.
We're good.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but the response has been good, though.
It has. Generally, being just really just a tap room. We don't have food, but we have food trucks that come and sit most nights on the lot.
Yeah.
And so, which has been a huge, a really helpful draw. And you can order, we have all kinds of menus from area places that will deliver, you can bring food in with you, whatever. And then, we focused a lot this past, summer on, we have a really nice patio space outside. And then, we've built, it's the only bocce, like real deal, it's real deal bocce court, that I know of, around. And so we've really tried to play up the outdoor space and especially now, a lot of it's because, people are a little hesitant about being inside and all that. And so,
I think it's a wise investment.
Yeah.
For sure.
But like the city of Webb City has been awesome, and people that come in, they seem, they seem to like it. They come back.
Yeah.
We have a mug club that our first year we had 70 members that we expanded to 105. And when those are due each year, I mean, we sell out of, the majority of them will renew their mug for the year. And then whatever's left over, we sell those out, within just a short period of time.
Yeah.
And so, but we have, a lot of return customers, and people that have come in have always been very, seem to enjoy the beer, seem to really like, kind of the very small, it's a very small space,
Yeah.
But kind of like that too. Cause when Will and a buddy of his were kind of doing the bulk of the renovations, they, one of the things they wanted to do was to keep it, as original as possible,
Yeah.
this old, stone building. So a lot of it, especially like up in the rafters and stuff, is just the original barn wood, and you can see like old paint, like old,
like painted siding from an old building that they used for the roof on the inside.
So, it's really, really cool stuff. And then, like a lot of all of our barn wood and our trim we got from a friend that had a barn blow down in his field, and he's just like, take what you want, and so
It comes in useful, right?
yeah, no kidding. It was perfect. So we were able to keep a lot of the character of the original building.
Yeah.
But actually I think it's almost a little, it's better now than it's probably ever been.
Cool.
Yeah.
Go back really quick. Let's talk about that mug club. You talked about that. So, what is the mug club? How do you become a member of that, or is it something that's you mentioned you sold out? So, is it kind of an exclusive, limited number?
It is. Yep.
So walk us through. What if we wanted to become a mug club member? What do we do, and what do we get?
So there's 105 mugs, and our normal pour is the 13-ounce pour.
Okay.
And so all of the mugs are 20-ounce pours. So when you come in, you just say, hey, I'm number, 35.
Okay.
We get your mug down. They hang up above the bar there. And so you get a 20-ounce pour for the same price as the 13.
Nice.
And then when you renew, you get a new mug club shirt, a T-shirt. We get some kind of a gift. So like last year, we gave the nicer bar taps that had Flag City on it.
Oh, nice.
And then once a month we open up on a closed night just for mug clubbers, and we'll do stuff. Like we've had a +1 night where they could bring a guest, or we'll do, trivia nights, or our last one was axe throwing.
Yeah.
We have a mobile axe throwing cart that comes out. Usually they've just started, and they're normally going to be at the brewery at least one of the 3 open days a week.
Okay.
Tow and Throw Axe Company.
I was just going to say, was that Tow and Throw?
It was Tow and Throw.
I saw
Absolutely.
it on your Facebook. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And so
I love the concept of that too.
Yeah. It was interesting. I was like, well, yeah. I mean, that sounds great. I just didn't know how it was going to work, and it's been
good.
Better than we could have imagined.
Nobody's been trying to get a little too tipsy and then
not
have
yet.
some axe fun.
No.
So.
Yeah, not yet.
All right. Well, if you do notice anybody doing that, make sure and record it and
Absolutely.
put that on YouTube.
Yeah.
After making sure they're safe.
Yeah, of course. Safety first, right?
Safety third.
Yeah. It makes me want to get my own axe.
I know, right?
Like just carry it around on my back like Conan or something,
Got that,
Yeah.
right? Hold it on.
It's a lot of fun.
So, what's the next beer we've got here? I know we're kind of wrapping up the first half here, but where should we go next?
I would say we let's go to our current seasonal, which is Oktoberfest.
All right. So now, before we jump into this, you were mentioning something about Sucker Flats. What was
So Sucker Flats is the area of where there's we called it the Pit growing up.
Okay.
Eric and I both grew up in Webb City, and in fact, both of us grew up pretty close to where the brewery is and where Sucker Flats is. I mean, it's Webb City, a small town, so you're kind of close to everything. But as a very young child, so I lived probably 10 blocks away from the Pit, and I'm the youngest of 8 kids. Well, my next oldest brother and I are about a year apart. And we had to be. I was probably 5 and he was probably 6 years old. Maybe I was 6 and he was 7. And we had found our way from home down to the Pit. And this pit, it's not like a pond on a gentle slope.
Oh,
This is a pit where they mine. So it's
sheer drop off.
It's sheer drop off. It's, slippery bank and loose gravel and some big rocks and people always talked about how there was this undercurrent.
Bottomless pit.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
bottomless pit with an undercurrent, and
Cracking.
So as a very young kid, my brother and I got blistered because our family could not find us, and they had put out an all points bulletin, to find the 2 little boys, and Dad found us. And 45 years ago, you didn't just get a tongue lashing and get walked
You
home.
almost wish the cops would have found you
Yes,
first, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So when I think about Sucker Flats, it always brings up that story and stories of just jumping off as a teenager, jumping off the cliff into the water and hoping you didn't get sucked under by the undercurrent, So
I've had a couple
Anyway.
moments like that in my teenage years. So
Yeah.
going jumping at the strip pits,
yeah, I bet you
always
have.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where are we heading in? You said the Oktoberfest here.
Uh-huh.
And I did go ahead and taste it. Man, that's tasty too. Tell me
good.
about where'd you come up with this one? What's it taste like as far as?
Well, it's kind of an interesting one. If I could brew a lager, if I really wanted to,
Yeah.
it would take up a fermenter for a long time.
Yeah.
Right. And so I don't do any lagers, and so I wanted to make a traditional Oktoberfest type lager, but not lager it, like make it an ale.
Okay.
And so basically what I did was just kind of research, some of the, what traditional Oktoberfest lagers had, how they were made, and I built the recipe around that. So it has all, traditional ingredients in it, minus I used an ale yeast for it.
That's really
And
cool.
so, and it's actually probably our most popular seasonal.
Yeah.
It's really, this is the second year that we've had it, and it's really went over well. And we had a lot of return customers this year just for the Oktoberfest
Hoping
because
to have that on there.
because they knew, they'll follow our Facebook, and that's generally how people find out. When a new beer's coming out is we'll post it on Facebook as far as, hey, this will be tapped, so, Thursday, come on in and try it.
Okay.
And so, but the Oktoberfest has definitely been one of our best seasonals.
Yeah. Now, is it the same recipe each year? Or
It is.
Okay.
Yep,
All
yep,
right.
yeah.
Perfect. And how about the rest of your beers? I mean, are those the same every time, or do you kind of do a little bit of tweaking here and there?
The core 4, which are these 4, they're the same. I want them to be the same. When people come in, and they liked the Sucker Flats, and they order a Sucker Flats the next time, it's really important to me that it tastes like the last Sucker Flats.
Yeah.
And so with those core 4 being really consistent is important. I did just make a change though to our Orinoco Circle IPA. I changed one of the dry hops, which really it did exactly what I was hoping that it would do, and you'll see when we try it.
Okay.
But it really helped the aroma of it, when you bring it to your nose.
Yeah.
And it did, and it's only been out for, I don't know, maybe a week
Yeah, a
of
week or
open
two,
days.
yeah.
But the response to it has been really, really good. So the people that really like the Orinoco Circle,
Yeah.
it still has the Orinoco Circle taste.
Yeah.
It's just that that full aroma that you get from it now is it just kind of enhances the whole beer. It just makes it better than it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever serve it to any of your customers so far, or repeats, and just not tell them that you changed it and be like, just try it out?
Always, yeah,
Perfect.
always, yeah.
And what's the look on their face give it away, or do they they'd be like, is there something different?
Yeah, some people will be like, well, they'll just be like, man, the Orinoco Circle is really good, this time.
Yeah.
Or,
which makes you feel good, I'm sure.
yeah. And or I'll just say, hey, how's the IPA this batch? And and they'll be like, man, it's really good. It really smells great, and then I'll say, well, yeah, I did this, and this.
Did this little modification.
Yeah. And so, and of course, if they said, yeah, it's worse, what did you do? Then obviously, I can always go back to the original, but the core, the four main year-round beers, I try to just keep as consistent as possible.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, it's absolutely fantastic. I'm loving the Oktoberfest here,
Good.
and I'm really enjoying the conversation. I hope you guys listening and watching are as well. But we're going to go ahead and take a quick break and let our advertising partners here do their thing, and just hear a word from them. So we'll see you back here very soon on the remainder of our episode here with Flag City Brewing on Beyond the Tap. Hey everyone, it's Brian here, and I'm so excited to tell you about the all-new 2021 American V-Twin models from Indian Motorcycle. Now, if you haven't heard of Indian, they're America's very first motorcycle company, and autumn here in the Ozarks, it's the perfect time to take one out for a test ride. I've been by the dealership, I've seen what quality craftsmanship looks like, and you should too. I'm telling you, the new 2021 models are incredible. They've got the Scout and Scout 60, or if you're like me and you like a little more stripped down, more blacked out look to it, you'll want to check out their Scout Bobber and Scout Bobber 60. They've even got the liquid-cooled Indian Challenger, which if you didn't know, was named 2020 Motorcycle of the Year by both Rider Magazine and Thunder Press. So head over to Heritage Indian Motorcycle in Rogers, Arkansas today to schedule a test ride, or check them out online at heritageindiannwa.com or call 479-633-8443. And remember, always wear your helmet, never drink and ride, and be sure to follow all local laws, including any social distancing guidelines in your area. All right, so if you like what you're hearing here on Beyond the Tap, make sure and head over to YouTube and subscribe to us. Hit that little bell so you make sure and get the notifications every single time that we post a new episode here. It's really nice, right? What are you doing back here? And also, make sure and check us out on Apple iTunes podcast section. Subscribe to us there. And do you know we're also on Spotify?
Yes.
There's nothing in there yet, but that's okay. So check us out. If you really, really like what you're hearing here, then you want to head over to patreon.com, and you can actually contribute to the show and making this the awesome success that it clearly already is. And throw a few bucks at us. You can earn some cool perks along the way. Visit patreon.com/beyondthetap today to check out more.
And to some of my friends who, bucks may not come so quickly to you, feel free to subscribe to us. That's important to us as well. Or review us. Give us 5 stars. You think we're 5 stars? I think we're 5 stars.
I think so.
And that's just as important. So follow us. Stay tuned. There's a lot coming your way.
True story. See you next time on Beyond the Tap.
Tap.
All right, welcome back to episode 17 of Beyond the Tap, where we have on here Flag City Brewing. We've got Eric and William in. They're the co-owners, and guys, thanks for joining. I know if you guys have already listened to the first half of this, which you should have, then they've got some great beers. I've enjoyed 2 of them so far. And by the smell of this one, I'm going to enjoy it as well. I have not had it yet. Which one are we heading into? The Orinoco Circle?
Yeah, this is the Orinoco Circle. It's our IPA.
Okay. Now, is this the only IPA you have?
It's the only year-round one, yes.
Okay. All right.
We have some different seasonals that we'll do that are IPAs. Like we have a New England called the Goat coming out it'll
Named
be
after Pat Mahomes, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll fix that.
That's right.
And then we have an imperial called the Mother Load IPA that we've done.
Also a mining term.
Exactly.
There you
Yes.
go.
Yes. Yeah. The goat is not. It's just kind of it when I
Goats
named
haul
it.
carts.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. That's true. It's true. We named it after, or I named it, I guess, because it was New England. I named it after Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And put a picture up of Tom Brady next to it, and some people refused to buy the beer.
They did.
See?
Yeah,
because of
we're
his picture.
All Chiefs fans, and so anyway, this year it'll be the Mahomes.
I appreciate your shirt simply because it is Chiefs colors. So
Yes.
Yeah, that's
meant to tell you that earlier. So what am I smelling in this beer? I mean, I'm smelling obviously the hops and stuff, but like, describe the flavor of this one to someone who's never had it, because I'll tell you my thoughts on it after that. Go for it.
Well, when I made this recipe for IPAs, or for this IPA, I wanted people who don't like IPAs to like ours.
Yeah.
And so it's
The
not
gateway beer.
Yeah, it's not like overly, it doesn't, rip your tongue fur off,
Yeah.
from being overly hoppy. So I wanted it to be really drinkable, and something that they would like. It's very very citrusy.
Yeah. I'm definitely getting orange notes in there for sure.
Yeah, very orange. There's some grapefruit, and a lot of that is coming from just because you're getting that smell, after changing that dry hop. It made a big difference in how it was. Not that it was bad before. It just wasn't. It just wasn't exactly what I was hoping it would be.
Yeah.
Messing with the dry hops did what I wanted it to.
Gotcha. Maybe not as full-bodied on the nose, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because that definitely, I mean, for people who aren't aware, I mean, changing up the smell of a beer will change the flavor of it, as with any of your foods or things like that. It's amazing what something as simple as changing a hop or a dry hopping process can do for just modifying the flavor of a beer.
Yeah. And so, when people were drinking that, I wanted them to think, citrus, tropical fruits, I just wanted that to be, what they took from the beer.
Yeah. If you don't mind my asking, what hops do you use in this?
Well, I bitter with Galena.
Okay.
And then use some Amarillo, Centennial, and Citra.
Okay.
And then I dry hopped with a little Citra, and the bulk of it was Mosaic.
Okay. Yeah. No, I know. I was going to say, I think our neighbors over here in New Providence, I think they're doing some stuff with Mosaic as well. So.
Yeah. It's, I've just started using it really this past year, and man, it's great.
Yeah.
You almost can't make a beer not taste good if you use those hops.
Now, remind me, where's Mosaic from? It's okay if you
Right.
don't know.
I don't know.
That's all right.
It kind of reminds me of some of the Australian hops, but I don't think it's I don't know. It may. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I'll tell you, man, it's delicious, whatever
Good.
it is. Because
Yeah.
if anybody knows where Mosaic hops are from, make sure and throw a little comment down
somebody,
there.
I
'cause
probably should, but
golly, it's tasty.
we'll get that in post, right?
Yeah, we'll get it in post. That's exactly what we'll do. So now I know Eric, right? You said your friend comes in. Or he's the head bartender, right, or beer tender there?
Well, no, well,
I don't know.
We've given him the title of head brewer.
Okay.
And so he was, we've been brewing together forever. And so he just wasn't able to join us.
Yeah.
Kids and other things. And so he just helps out, when he can. And
It's good to have those people, though, right?
Yeah, we wanted him definitely to be a part of it, and so he does, what he can, and it's great having him around, and he's definitely a big help, and I wanted to have a plan too, like, if whatever reason something were to happen to me or whatever, the brewery would be in good hands with him.
That's
brewing
very
beer.
deep.
Yeah,
Not gonna lie, that's pretty deep there.
Wow. He's never shared that with me.
Very existential
Nice.
here.
Yeah, well,
We get existential on Beyond the Tap.
right.
That's what it
right.
is.
Right.
So go back really quick. I mean, you mentioned kids there and stuff. So your space there that you have. One of the things I was reading whenever I was kind of doing a little background on you guys, you said you've even touched on it so far, is that you didn't want people just to think of a bar. You didn't want people to think of that. You wanted something that's a lot more family friendly. So I mean,
Right.
I would imagine you guys have kids that come in. I saw you have root beer on tap,
Yes.
right?
Bar. The word bar is like a 4-letter word
Yeah.
in the brewery, right?
Yeah.
And so
Believe me, I grew up extremely conservative. So
Yeah.
when you say bar, you think staggering people,
Yeah,
not
exactly.
community.
Right,
Yeah.
at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And, you're kicking people out and
And-
busted beer bottles in the toilet and,
Right.
all those
Yeah.
things. And
being
Wait, so you've been to a bar?
Yeah.
Great.
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
So we knew what we didn't
Yeah.
want,
Yeah, definitely. And we didn't, we knew what we had with the outdoor space. And so we wanted we wanted families to come, that was important. And, in order to do that, we have tons of board games inside. We have the space, you can bring your dog outside. And then I started, I make our own root beer, the Zinc City root beer.
Nice.
Which is mainly, I make it for, so that way when you come in, the kids have something to drink. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's really great. I know I've seen several breweries doing similar things to that. One actually locally does their root beer, and then
Oh, nice.
There's Ivory Bill over in Siloam that they do a cream soda.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
And my son has had it, and also the root beer as well. And so,
Yeah.
we'll have to come up and check that out, because that was going to be my other question was dogs, and you said that too. So.
Yeah, we have a lot of people that bring dogs in. They can't be inside just because I'm afraid they'll pick up a random hop or something, off the floor.
Well, you don't want to get anybody sick.
Yeah, and I don't want,
dogs,
I know the hops are toxic, to dogs. So,
Yeah.
but you can bring them all you want and keep them out in the yard and on the patio, and so yeah. So we just wanted to, we wanted it to be a cool place for you to just come hang out. Mom and dad could grab a beer and
Absolutely.
get the kid a root beer and
Enjoy an afternoon together, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
You don't have to feel like you're leaving anybody behind.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really good. So go back really quick. I know during the break we were chatting a little bit, and you said you do get a little experimental at times, and you like trying out some different flavors, things like that. And tell me about the Brewmaster Special. Tell our listeners.
Probably about 2 months ago, we added a tap. So we have our 4 year-round taps.
Okay.
And then we have our seasonal. And then generally we have a guest tap that we put like it's usually always a cider or a seltzer.
Okay.
From either one of the local breweries, like in Pittsburgh, Kansas, like Jolly Fox we have, or we get, Urban Chestnut a lot, from St. Louis. But we try to keep it as like a cider or seltzer just for people that aren't going to like any beer.
Yeah.
Just so we have an option for them. But we had an extra tap, beside the root beer tap. And so I started the Brewmaster Special Tap, and so that is just specifically for stuff that I wanted to try. Now, none of it will be overly, crazy, just because, like I had said earlier, I like to stay as traditional as I can within those guidelines of each style.
Yeah.
And so I just try to make the best beer that I can of the style.
Yeah.
But like we'll put on like our Motherlode IPA would have been a Brewmaster Special. We have a Strip Pit Stout, which is a Russian Imperial that we had on. And so a lot of those kind of beers will be on it. Our next one will be out in December, and it'll be a kind of our Christmas beer. And it's, we've had probably really, and we'll get to it, but probably the best beer that we make is the brown ale.
Okay.
Right. And it's an American brown.
You're holding out that best for last.
Right. And so, but I wanted to make kind of a northern brown.
Okay.
And so that's going to be our seasonal, coming out in December. Kind of our Christmas beer is going to be a northern brown ale, and that'll be the Brewmaster Special.
That's awesome. So that's just something. And you were saying earlier that you can never really guarantee it's going to be the best beer or the worst beer or just a mediocre one. But but it's up for those folks who want to say, hey, I want to try something a little different.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely different than what our normal choices are. And then, and then our next seasonal after the Oktoberfest is when we opened, our Turkey Creek Bitter wasn't one of our core 4 beers.
Okay.
It was a seasonal that went over really, really well. And it actually replaced one of our original beers, which was called a Yellow Dog Pale Ale.
Okay.
So it was named after a Yellow Dog mine, which was the biggest mine in the Joplin area. And so we haven't had it on tap for a while, and Will had mentioned it a few weeks ago, and so I went ahead and did a batch of it, and so we're going to bring it back just for a one batch seasonal, for all those people that kind of miss having the pale ale on.
Yeah. No, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And you mentioned Turkey Creek Bitter. So now it's a bitter. Is that kind of like an ESB style?
Well, it's more like an English mild. It's really just kind of my version of just a traditional English pub ale.
Yeah.
It's malty. It's very easy drinking. Very low alcohol. It's just a really good standard English beer.
Okay. All right. And now I have to touch on another name really quick here. So we talked about the 10 o'clock Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
So why 10 o'clock?
It's, right next to Webb City is Carterville.
Okay.
And their biggest mine was called the 10 o'clock mine.
Ah, I got
And
you.
so,
okay.
so we named it after it.
So it truly is. All your names are centered right around the
everything except for the goat. Yeah. That's
all
the
right.
only
He
one.
didn't fit in either. So
As long as we put a picture of Pat up there this year, it'll be okay.
We'll take care of it.
after he gets his second ring. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
For those of you who are playing along at home and don't follow sports, we're talking about football. All right, fun. Well, very cool. So, man, I tell you what, you're talking about your sizes of batches. I would imagine that leaves a pretty small margin of error, right? So, like, have there been any beers that you've had that maybe took a little longer or anything, and you go, well, by the time you reach the end of it, you tasted it, and it was just like, well, there's 2 weeks gone.
Yeah. Well, we've been really pretty lucky. Like when we first started.
No, skilled.
Yes, very skilled, pretty skilled. When we first started, we were having trouble because we had the open rafters of the building. We were having trouble maintaining the room temperature.
Okay.
And so it was just getting too warm, in the summer months. And so a couple of those first beers that we did just didn't turn out because it was too hot for them.
Okay.
And then we had really, really good luck until I found out about Beer Stone, which is something that I didn't realize was a thing.
I don't know that's a thing.
Well,
so what's that thing?
And so Beer Stone is like this. It's like this hard, almost like calcium deposits that can they form on the bottom of your fermenter.
Okay.
And so, I didn't know what it was. And, me and my buddy that helps me brew, we had completely talked ourselves into, no, it's always looked like that, but and it has something, and I'm not real great on all the science, but it has something to do,
Sorry.
it has something to do with the proteins in the beer, and so it makes this, this stone stuff on the side of the
He's
the
opening
fermenter.
a public beach in the bottom of the fermenter.
Exactly. Yeah,
He's sitting
exactly.
down there.
Yeah, it was about as clean as a public beach, I guess. And so
We didn't serve any of that beer,
yeah, well, and it was
Very important to know.
Yeah,
as far as we know.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, our darker beers that had the darker malts in it, it was really affecting them in a way that it was giving them like a sour taste.
Okay.
And I had went through and I had replaced almost everything, that had to do with brewing, especially from the boil to fermenter,
Yeah.
and just couldn't figure out what was happening, and then finally figured out, well, heck, that's what it is, because there's so many little crevices and stuff in there that it can hide bacteria.
Yeah.
And no matter what you do, it's not going to get clean. And so once I figured that out, that took care of all of it. So we missed out on a few batches of brown there, just because it was really affecting those darker beers.
Yeah.
So, but it was good learning too. I mean, I'm sure those are stuff that you learn when you are professionally taught, but
That's all right. You're getting through it.
That's all
now.
part of it, I guess, is just learning. So,
Lesson learned, and you moved forward.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
well, and you mentioned the word sour a while ago. Now, have you done any sours, or are you looking to do any at any point in the future?
No,
or?
I'm not a big fan of sour.
Okay.
And so and generally if I don't really like it, I don't want to make it.
Yeah.
Because I can't judge whether it's any good or not. You know what I mean? Just because I'm not a big fan of it. So now we have had some sours, like on our guest tap.
Okay.
Every now and then, because there are a few people that'll come in and want some sours.
I'm one of those weirdos.
Yeah, well, and that, I know there's a lot of people like them, but it's not something that I'll probably ever do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And that's all right, because that's the thing too is brew what you like, and brew what you can enjoy being proud of as you're serving it out. So, speaking of serving it out, I think it's time we probably pop that fourth beer, right?
One more, right?
Yeah, let's try that out there.
Awesome.
So we got the brown ale here, the old number 60. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's our old number 60. I would say that as far as all the beers that we brew, as far as the style, I think it's the best beer that we make, and it's
He's setting you up for disappointment here.
right.
Oh, is he? Is he?
No, it's a very it's one of our more popular beers. People that don't generally like darker beers,
Okay.
really like it. It's kind of a not so much. I'm not a big coffee drinker.
Okay.
And so those kind of beers don't interest me too much. This is more of just kind of a roasted caramel biscuity, nutty flavor to it. That's really
nutty to it.
Yeah, and it's really for being a dark beer, it's pretty easy drinking, pretty light.
Now, if somebody is a drinker already, and what would you say this is relatively close to kind of just give them an idea of what they could expect, maybe? Because I cannot remember the name of the beer that I'm thinking of, but I know exactly what the label looks like.
The one that I think of most when I drink it is Moose Drool.
Okay. I don't think I've had Moose Drool, but
it's from Big Sky.
Yeah.
In Wyoming, Montana. Big Sky, Montana.
Okay.
I would say that it's the most similar to this.
Okay. Mm-hmm. No, it's tasty, very tasty. I like that darker flavor to it and everything, and like you mentioned the kind of like caramely, roasty,
little nuttiness to it, little chocolatey taste to it. It's got some chocolate malt in it.
It's very complex.
Yeah,
I like that.
There's a lot going on in it, and that's part of the reason why I think if you just look at our beers as far as not how they taste so much, but just what they are.
Yeah.
I think this is the best beer that we make.
Okay. I was gonna say you let out. You saw him, right? He snuck that in there earlier and said, "Hey, we'll start out with our most popular one." And he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna end up with our best."
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Sure.
Yep.
You always end up with the darkest, right?
Yeah, you have to. You have to. Otherwise, it's gonna throw off the flavors of everything
Exactly.
else.
Yep.
So Will, I gotta ask, man. So tell an embarrassing story on this guy. Is there something that you've seen him kind of?
Man,
whether
so
it's
embarrassing.
in the brewing or just in the general business opportunity. I mean,
Yeah.
give me something really good here.
Man, embarrassing. So, I mean, he is, he's the crafter. He's
Yeah.
the one who makes beer, and I'm the one who looks after the licensing and the bank account and all of that. But Eric's older brother and I went to school together. So
Okay.
he's the younger brother of one of my, former classmates, still really good friends.
Yeah.
And I wish I could think of a little brother story. The only story I can come up with is not a little brother story. It's actually a story. So Eric likes to fish too. He's a pretty good bass fisherman.
All right.
He
We'll hang out next summer.
He
so.
guides me a lot, but I can't catch fish like he can. He always catches a bigger fish. He always
yeah?
has better lures. Always catches more.
whatever.
But there was one day. So where I lived for quite a long time was just down the road from this pond of a friend of ours, and Eric and he were obviously fishing. But I get this ring on the doorbell in the afternoon, like a weekend, Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and I walk out there and you can probably tell from just being around Eric here for an hour, he's pretty laid back.
Yeah.
And he had lodged a treble hook from one of his crankbaits he was using in his thumb.
Oh.
So I go to the door and he's standing there, and his buddy Jonathan's right behind him. And I said, what can I do for you? And he said, well, I've got this, just very calmly. I'd be jumping up and down, screaming, get this thing out of my finger. And he just needed some wire cutters or something to cut the hook
you
off,
just snap that so I can
he
pull
kind
it
of pushed
through?
the barb all the way through. And so
It was
that's
fine.
the only one. I wish I had something that was more embarrassing. He is hilarious.
I don't know if that makes him embarrassing or if that makes him my hero now. It's like, good
Yeah.
grief.
That was just the first thing that came to my brain.
That works.
So-
Works. So,
Yeah.
what would you guys? I'll start out with you. What's maybe what's one of the biggest learnings that you've had after opening a brewery and really having a tap room where folks can come in? Was there anything that you kind of went into this thinking, hey, this I feel like it's going to be this way, and this is the way it's going to play out, and then it kind of maybe took you by surprise, or wasn't exactly what you thought?
I think with only being open the 3 days a week, I didn't think that it would take up as much time as it does.
Okay, all right.
And that's the biggest thing is just the time factor of it's not that it's bad. I mean, it's always time well spent, but it does take up more time than I was thinking that it would.
Okay.
Only being open that much, and if we're busy, we go through a lot of beer, and so just trying to keep up with that at times can be more than what I was expecting for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Well, how about you, man?
I think for me, my surprise is I didn't think we'd break so many dang glasses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That happened pretty frequently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, what and I would imagine. Now, do you guys get your stuff there locally, or do you order from somewhere outside, like as far as supplies?
We usually that kind of stuff we get from outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been buying.
No
from
shame in
somebody
that,
out of
especially if you're
Wichita.
breaking a few. So.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. So now, if I've thoroughly enjoyed the time here chatting with you guys. If folks want to come and see you, you guys are in Webb City.
Yes.
What is the best way for them to learn more about you? Is that your Facebook page? Or?
Yeah. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yeah.
Anything that's posted goes to all three of those. We actually, we don't have a phone, like a working phone, and we don't have a website. But everything you could possibly need to know can be found on one of those three things.
Okay.
You know, what food trucks we have coming up, any kind of events that we have, new beer releases, when mugs for the Mug Club come back up for sale.
Okay.
You know, all of that is announced through Facebook, and we do a lot of like Facebook Live stuff.
Okay.
A lot of stupid videos, you know, just for fun.
That's why we're here.
You're right.
Yeah.
And so, so everything that you could possibly want to know can be found on one of those three.
Okay. Well,
Those
very
three
cool.
things. Yeah.
And you mentioned trivia and stuff. Is that something that's still going on right now? I know
Yeah.
obviously we're in the middle of,
It is.
pandemic season. but-
Oddly enough, you know, where we're at in Webb City, really it doesn't have any restrictions right now. And so, yeah, I don't know how much longer that'll last, but, you know, so we're doing trivia once a month, and it's generally on, the third, Thursday of each month. We do trivia.
What time?
It's usually from like 7 to 9.
Okay. All right.
And then, another teacher, comes and MCs it. He does a really good job. You know, he's funny. He does a good job at running trivia. And then, you know, we have the axe throwing, you know, usually one day a week.
Okay.
And sometimes it might be Thursday, sometimes it might be Saturday, you know, and so that's
Just
always,
check the Facebook for that.
that's always posted on there, you know, and so anything like that can be found, you know, on the Facebook.
Now, are your beers only found in your tap room at this time, or do you
They are.
distribute anywhere locally? Or
No, we don't. No, you have to come in to have them.
we'll get in there and see them, guys.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, come
it.
on by.
Well, thank you again so much for joining. Let's finish off the rest of this beer, and
All right.
we'll see you guys next time here. Again, thanks for coming. Flag City Brewing here on Beyond the Tap. Go check them out in Webb City, Missouri, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.